wanted to start this video off by number one, using my different microphone to test it out. I want to know what you guys think about it. But more importantly, I wanted to thank you guys for helping me reach 5,000 subscribers, bro. You guys have been absolutely phenomenal. Like, bro, I never thought I'd get this far, and the speed of which that we're actually gaining traction is insane. Thank you all so much, and I look forward to continuing to make good content into the future. Kengan Drip Tier List coming soon. Sayaka, take it away. Sen Hatsumi, the most disappointing character in the whole series. Personally, I really wanted to like Sen. When he showed up in the beginning of the series, I knew that he was definitely going to be one of those absurdly good at fighting characters that would rather spend their time sleeping or smoking weed like Kizaru. But unlike Kizaru, when you pull back Sen's initial chill and laid back personality, what's underneath it is something I really wish I didn't look up. So I'm not going to hold anything back when it comes to these character reviews, and I'm just going to be brutally honest here when it comes to Sen. He's not a bad fighter, and he's not a bad character by any means, and I do like him, but only to an extent, because he doesn't go into the direction that I initially hoped for. So with that being said, what is good, y'all? Sync here, and today we're going to talk about the floating cloud, the man who can't keep it in his pants, the one character in Kengan Ashura who has the most questionable morals and the most questionable track record, Sen Hatsumi. Now, Hatsumi is very weird. It's like he was meant to be two different characters, and in the process of Sanjo trying to make him, one side of him is a womanizer and the other side is, well, really honorable. It's like that womanizer side is very lethargic, but also good at fighting. But that honorable side is something that I really wanted him to go more into the direction of. For example, in all of his fights, he doesn't actually aim to kill people. He's just here for a good fight and to hit on girls, which I understand and I agree wholeheartedly, my guy. Please, more of that. It's just his palate that I really can't get over. Whether it's a joke or not, it's just weird to me, man. But let's go ahead and talk about his character design. Let's get the ball rolling. Let's begin. So when Hatsumi was originally designed, they wanted a character who would serve as the antithesis of Oma, someone who was middle-aged, smooth, a womanizer, and lazy beyond belief. He was originally drawn to look even older than he was, but they changed it later on to make him look more of a unmotivated hunk, quote unquote. But his model was based off of Hatsumi Ryozo, an Aikido practitioner from Sanjo's earlier work, Fist of the Seeker. I think this is the first time I ever mentioned that series. But anyways, the secret backstory between Ryozo and Hatsumi Sen is that Ryozo is Sen's uncle. And by the way, both Ryozo and Sen do share the same attitude when it comes to fighting, flaking on matches and such, but both of their fighting styles are unique to each other. Ryozo uses a mixture of Hatsumi style Aikido and ninja techniques together, where Hatsumi focuses more so on his really good affinity for dodging at the last second. It is stated though that Ryozo is better than Sen when it just comes to pure Aikido, but we don't know how they would match up to a fight, and that's not my area. But what is my area is this backstory. 18 years before the story took place, in his early 20s, Shion and Hatsumi started dating for the first time. Now, really, Hatsumi's personality is not at all meant for an exclusive relationship type, so soon after they started dating, when they were in Toshiki land together, they broke up after Shion caught Hatsumi cheating on her. And I should definitely mention that, Shion was 17 and Hatsumi was 23, but, at the same time, take that info however you will. Anyways, they started going on and off again with their dating for about the next 2 years until Hatsumi told her he was going to travel around the world in order to fight strong people, which was true. But this is Hatsumi we're talking about here, okay? So in reality, he was just going to the red light district tour. I always find it funny that one of the biggest reasons that they started dating is because all the women in the Soryun family had this muscle fetish, and she fell for him when she saw Sen's pecs. And this is confirmed by her sisters Akemi Soryun from Danbaru, but Akemi can't really control her facial expressions when it comes to her muscle fetish. I really hope there's no scene where she meets Julius. Anyways, 5 years of fighting later, Hatsumi is traveling the world and mastering the art of backbending, and his prowess as a fighter caused him to be hand selected by Katahara to become the next Fang of Metsudo. He also met Sayaka, who was 9 years old at the time, but we'll get to that later. And he accepted it, saying that he was looking for a steady income, which is the biggest fucking lie I ever heard when it comes to this entire manga. There's no way that someone like Hatsumi would ever say, yep, it's time for me to get a stable income, start making get a 401k, get my whole funds right. That is not at all Hatsumi, bro. Okay, this is why it only lasted 1 week for him from being the Fang until he inevitably just dipped. And so when he started doing the Kengan matches eventually, it was under Nogi's group as a fighter. And during this time, he fought against Waka and absolutely bodied him. But his record as a fighter going forward was 39 wins and 15 losses, which is really hilarious since all of his losses was just him not showing for various reasons. But what did show was Shion to his first match, where she was devastated when she realized the true reason that Hatsumi decided fighting for Nogi, and it was so he could continuously hit on Katie whenever he wanted to. It was not at all part of their agreement. This is just Hatsumi-san being Hatsumi-san. Bonus points if you can guess how old Katie was when she originally started working here. But with that, let's go ahead and talk about Sen's personality, as shitty as it is. Hatsumi is a definition of laid back, and honestly, if I had to put it into Pokemon terms, he's like Regigigas with a slow start, but once he gets going, he can best even the top fighters. But what really weighs him down, however, is his lethargic, carefree nature. Having so many losses due to his own laziness, I'm not surprised that no one would really pick him up outside of Nogi and Katahara, because realistically, those are the only two people who I think would actually look at a fighter like Hatsumi, look at his track record, and then say, yep, this guy actually knows what he's doing. I'm just looking at it from a facts perspective, of course. But when it comes to the other members of the story, the other cast, of course, I mean the female cast of the story. Well, if you are a female in the series, he can and will try to flirt with you as much as possible and then go out and do the same thing to another girl 5 minutes later, if not sooner. Characters like these I don't really like in any kind of media, and I'm not really a big fan of the whole womanizer thing. So I'll make this brief. He hits on Katie since she started working out at the Nogi group and all of Nogi's assistants, and without a doubt, he is a proud patron of Reno's pleasure group. But one thing that is definitely the most egregious offense in my opinion is that he hit on Sayaka. And I say this because he knew Sayaka back when she was only 9 years old, so take that as you may be. So it goes without saying that I don't like this side of Hatsumi, but as Sekibayashi once said, there are many sides to him. As a fighter, he has connection with many other fighters that just screams out cool old guy who will come and save the day. He just has like this very vibrant and open way of seeing the world from different angles. I find this version of Hatsumi to be really cool and really interesting, but it's never really that much touched upon in the series. One of the rare occurrences that we do see Hatsumi act this way is when he's having his talk with Waka before his match with Bando. That was Waka about how he really dislikes the thought process that when the masters get older, and that's when they start talking down to people, where they're talking as if they weren't doing some crazy shit when they were younger themselves. Everyone was a beginner before, and so when you're a beginner, you're learning, but when you're intermediate, you start doing some crazy shit. And you got to do that level of crazy shit in order to get the experience that you need to in order to become a master. To Hatsumi, that makes perfect sense, but when you're faking it and just talking down to people as if you didn't do some crazy shit, like your shit don't stink, then I understand why that makes him feel upset. Like, it may not be a way that I'd see the world, but it's a very interesting viewpoint that I don't think I would get anywhere from anyone else in the series. That's what really makes Sen interesting to me, is that he has these very unique viewpoints that you don't really see in most manga. Now, Hatsumi fights, like I said, like Regigigas. The more he does fight in succession, the stronger he gets, according to Waka at least. This is why he's always going on about how I'm in peak form, I'm in top condition, I'm in top gear. And this is why him and Oma had that little fight before his match with Kanoh. It's the way to get him warmed up and primed before he actually goes into his real match. Now, I'm not a fighter and I don't know anything about fighting or anything like that, but Hatsumi's fighting style is Aikido, a martial arts that use locks, holds, throws, and the opponent's own movements. Now, here's the thing when it comes to Hatsumi. Like I said before during the character design, Hatsumi was originally designed based off of a character that Sanjo already created, Ryozo Hatsumi. So he does use the Hatsumi style school of Aikido. But the Hatsumi style school of Aikido is a style of Aikido that is more focused on striking compared to traditional Aikido. It was invented by his grandfather, Goichi Hatsumi, from Fist of the Seeker as well, and Goichiro also had a connection to the Wu clan, which is why Hatsumi was able to train with him after the Annihilation Tournament alongside Rei, but we'll get into that later. Now, he has two moves that I'd like to talk about here: the 100 meetings throw, where he grabs his opponents by the wrist and then throws them into the air until they're upside down, letting them slam face first into the ground. Then there's the Gathering Clouds triple strike. During this move, he hits people in 3 different places in succession: the glabella, the philtrum, and the chin. Now, he uses this to knock out Chiba, and he does try this against Kanoh, but it's, well, ineffective against Kanoh, of course. One thing I'll also add about this move is that it's very synonymous to a sword technique called Sandaizuki, which is where you're striking 3 points of the body in one strike, originally invented by the famous Japanese swordsman Okita Soji, who, by the way, is actually fighting right now in Record of Ragnarok at the time of me making this video, so you should definitely check it out if you haven't done so already. Anyways, it's onward to the fights for Sen, the king of dodging. Let's begin. For the events in Ashura, you have a scuffle between Hatsumi and Sakabayashi, where, as Sakabayashi pointed out, after the first 2 or 3 minutes, that's when Hatsumi finally got into peak form and absolutely floored Sakabayashi. It was really something that he couldn't even see coming. Then you have the match between Hatsumi and Wakatsuki, where this one was an actual Kengan match in which Wakatsuki was bodied by Hatsumi. It's really funny when you think about it, because if you go over to the Reddit as well, everyone, whenever anything Waka related is mentioned, they got a doggone Waka mentioning that, yo, you lost to Hatsumi, no diff. Did I just say diff? Fuck. Now, people love to get on Moribochi for being one shot in the tournament, but really, I think Chiba was the biggest flop. You know, also as a side note, if you're out here and you're about to type, well, actually, Nezu is the weakest, shut up. Just shut up and go watch my Nezu video before I beat the Maki out of you. Anyways, before this match, Chiba was yapping. Like, he was literally rapping about how he can copy anyone's movements and fight just like Gaolong or Okubo or any other fighter. We even see this in the manga where he transforms into them, which is actually kind of crazy when you think about it. But in reality, he can't copy immediately. And he's nowhere near as strong as the fighters that he's copying. But that wasn't going to stop him from using his degree in BS from Scammers University, and he made Hatsumi genuinely believe that he's against a chimera of 24 different fighters. But after pulling out the wrong move against Sen, Chiba was promptly waxed for trying to use an Aikido move, where Sen's whole fighting style, like his fighting style is a school of Aikido, which we've already mentioned earlier, so he paid the price and was rightfully cooked on a skillet for doing so. On to the next one. All right, now Bando, man. Okay, this match, Sen had to do some homework against Bando, okay? Now, I just gotta say, I've never said a single solitary word about Bando's existence in the story in any of my videos up to this point. The fact that I remember more about Bando than I do Kyozan shows merit. Anyways, this fight was one that could have easily been 5 seconds if Sen never did his homework. Because of Bando's absurdly flexible body, he's able to stretch out his arms with enough force to kill a regular person in a single hit. And Hatsumi is not really known for having any kind of durability whatsoever. So when you think of it like Bando is kind of like Luffy in a sense where he's actually stretching, or rather he's really flexible, but it's at a certain range. And so during the beginning of the fight, Hatsumi was running around in circles trying to get an idea of what Bando's range really was. And so to a regular person's eye, like Sayaka and the rest of the crowd, they couldn't tell what was actually happening. All they saw was explosions popping up out of nowhere. In fact, the referee themselves was saying, yo, I think I gotta like cancel this match. And it's funny too, because the ref Chita Hattori was actually a fighter many years ago, and the fact that he couldn't tell lets us know that, yo, Bando's actually moving faster than some fighters could even pick up. Thankfully enough, Katahara was able to see what was really happening, and that he caught on that, okay, then this is actually getting good. So he was talking to the ref into a mic piece and said, yo, nah, let them cook. Let them keep fighting. This shit's getting good. It's about to be over anyways. So that's why the ref was actually not canceling the match, despite everyone in the crowd shouting out like, yo, are we getting bombed? What's going on here? Is this like some kind of an attack or something? Side note, I don't understand why the anime did this, but they only have Yamamoto Koshi, the big bald guy, who is the referee in the show. But in the manga, there are many other refs. They have Tashiro Musashi. That's the guy who has, like, you know, the mustache. He's a singer slash comedian. Like, he is an interesting backstory. Chita Hattori, the one who used to be a fighter as well, is another interesting character. Then you have Anna Paula, and she has some kind of a background with Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So honestly, if you see her in Strike It Rich, don't say I didn't warn you here. Anyways, back to the story. Let's go back to Sen. Bando finally caught Sen, hitting him in the head, and just like the big booty of Metsudo, Sen is a master of the limp, dispersing the damage and surviving what would have been a fatal blow. And he rushed into Bando right afterwards and tried to get him into a regular Aikido joint lock, which would never really work on Bando, but it did make him aware that Hatsumi can do it. So when Hatsumi rushed in again, he went for Bando's bone instead of a joint, and he snapped it like a Slim Jim. Then he sent him face first on a round trip into the ground. See, by this point, Sen is in peak condition for the remainder of all his fights, but he's still going to need a little bit more practice before he takes on the big booty of Metsudo Kanoh Akido himself. But I will leave an interesting note, because I don't know when the next time I'll ever get to talk about Bando will be, but Bando really wasn't actually KO'd by that attack. This man just dug his, I think like he dug this vertebrae within his skull or something. Pretty much, he survived falling face first into the ground through some kind of bullshit with his body. He has an absurd amount of flexibility, but if you've seen his fight with Hanafusa and how he managed to dodge literally getting pierced in the heart, this man is a monster. You know what? I might have to expedite this Bando video, but we'll talk about that later. Hatsumi having Oma in front of everyone and just like using Oma as a tool to warm up his dodging abilities is actually kind of badass. I don't think we actually seen a fighter do anything of the sort like that, but that's just how Hatsumi rolls. He gets stronger as he fights more often, so having Oma help him warm up was actually a good call. So during his match with Kanoh, his warm-up with Oma paid off, as now he was in top gear and dodging everything like J. Cole dodged the Kendrick disc. And this kept up during the match, but one thing that was constant from the beginning to end was that it was very clear that if Kanoh landed a single real hit on Hatsumi, he was cooked. You could see even from the moves that Sen blocked that he was still reeling from the damage and he felt the pressure despite dispersing and mitigating it. Genuinely felt like Kanoh was just treating Hatsumi like a kid, toying with him and just wailing on him. Even the referee was surprised, like, yo, I didn't expect this to be this one-sided. Even Okubo used the word outclassed. That's literally the definition of Hatsumi versus Kanoh. It's not that Hatsumi is weak by any means. Bro is just outclassed. But because this is Kanoh, the cake of Metsudo, the champion when it comes to striking all around in Kengan, the damage was still too substantial for him to really take head on. This was when I really felt like the match was over, because Hatsumi had no kind of defense against a person with the perfect offense, in my opinion, of course. I'm not trying to gas up Kanoh too much here. Calm down. Calm that down. But Hatsumi not even letting the star drop aside, and even because he got blocked by that dragon shot aside, everything after that point was the expected result. But what was unexpected was the amount of disrespect that Kanoh did to Hatsumi. You see, after Kanoh got off the first dragon shot and then hit him with a second one, Kanoh held back on his kick. Now, here's the thing. Like I said before, any hit that Kanoh really dealt to Hatsumi couldn't kill him. So the fact that Kanoh instinctively knew that he could hold back on a kick, that is actually really disrespectful in terms of the show. Because if he really wanted to, he could have killed Hatsumi right then and there. Really, his fight with Kanoh, it felt like I just witnessed a victim. It felt like Hatsumi tried everything that he possibly could. Like, he tried out his entire arsenal and Kanoh just hard countered him. We witnessed not a fight. It was another victim session. It was like watching Kuroki fight anyone. But I'm not going to talk down to Hatsumi because, like I said, he is a backbender. It's the one martial art that Kanoh has yet to do or show anyone in the series that he is capable of. So you know what? In my opinion, Sen can beat Kanoh when it comes to the art of backbending.
屈辱だぜ。手心が加えられるなんて。本気の蹴りならスイカみてえに頭を砕かれてた。可能には加減をする余裕があったってことだ。やり合ってみてよーくわかったぜ。現時点での実力差が。参ったぜ。おやつさんには悪いけど、無理なもんは無理だ。
Thank you. Now on to Omega. So after the Annihilation Tournament, he trains alongside Ray in the Wu Clan. You see, Ray was already training with the Wu Clan at this point. Then Hatsumi pulled up and said, oh, hey, what's going on? Let me just hop in here and train with you guys. And they were cool with it because, like I said before, the Wu Clan has connections in Hatsumi. And so the next time we actually see Hatsumi fight, though, is when he's against Kaneda. However, Kaneda does counter Hatsumi like really, really well by using his new move, the spider web. It's where essentially Kaneda is mitigating the amount of options that Hatsumi believes he has, just so he can make sure that he can react to the best possible outcome. I think I said that improperly, but pretty much Kaneda was playing Hatsumi like a fiddle for a long period of the fight. And it gets to a point where Hatsumi doesn't even know why he's attacking a certain way until it's already happened. For example, he tried to go for a leg kick when easily he could have went for a stomp, but Kaneda had turned his head to the point of thinking like, oh yeah, a leg kick would actually be a lot easier to do, when in reality, a stomp would have just finished the match. So Kaneda is just constantly lulling Hatsumi into this sense of security, where he then gets into a mount and goes for an organ breaker. But he's kicked off the moment that Hatsumi realized what Kaneda's real plan was. Then it goes into the slowest encounter in Kengan Omega's history, when Hatsumi slow bopped his way closer to Kaneda like Luigi does in Smash Brothers. Then he gets in close and digs his fist into Kaneda's sternum, bro, stopping his diaphragm, which was exactly what Kaneda freaking predicted, as he then went for a heart jab, but Hatsumi quickly countered it with a 100 meters throw, winning the match. Overall, I would say that Hatsumi is definitely a weird character. He's not all weak and he's not washed up. He's just outclassed when it comes to the top fighters. But because of his personality, his track record of matches doesn't really line up to what he can do as a fighter. But personally, I think he should have just been, you know, a teacher when Omega rolled around, like someone who would have trained Koga during his initial training arc. That would have been a really good place for Hatsumi, because it would have shown that he made some, you know, more characteristic changes. He would have grown up a little bit more. And, you know, I can do a little bit without the womanizing aspect to him. You know, that's just how he is as a character. It's a part of his nature. It's a part of his charm, and I get that. It's what comes with being a certified backbender in most animes. You gotta have one. So with that being said, thank you so much for watching. My name is Sync, and you guys have a wonderful day.
皆様、お待たせいたしました。いよいよあの男の入場です。